Hi, travel agents. Thank you all for joining us today once again. My name is Cindy and I'll be your host. So, for today's webinar, we have Visit Idaho. So, before we get started, I just want to go over some housekeeping rules. So, as always, if you have any questions, please drop it in the Q&A box below, and then we'll get to it at the end of the webinar. We're also giving away an Idaho dry bag today. So to qualify, make sure you stay all the way till the end of the webinar. The winner will be drawn offline and notified early next week. So make sure to keep an eye out in your inbox. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce our lovely presenter, Katie. Hi, Katie. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure the agents are very excited to hear about what you have to say. So please go right ahead.
Perfect. I will share my screen and we'll get started. All right. Can you let me know if you see my screen?
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you all for coming. I'm excited to share a little bit about Idaho and what we have to offer for any of your clients that are interested in coming through on their next vacation or any time within the next few years. We'd love to see them and we'd love to have them. So there we go. All right, so just to kind of give you an idea of where we are in the US, Idaho is kind of in the northwest portion of the US. We hug the western side of the US's northern Rocky Mountains. We don't have an international airport within our borders, but we are very close to several international airports. And we have great connections to a lot of the ones that you see starred here. We also are really close to some really well-known national parks within the US. Glacier, Yellowstone, and Grand Teton are just to the east of us in Montana and Wyoming, respectively. So we're a really great spot to kind of come and see the outdoors with a lot of great connections. If you're flying from, say, Eastern Canada into the US, we have great connections to international airports, or if you're driving down from Western Canada, we're an easy drive down. Just to kind of get you a little bit more oriented with Idaho, we have a lot of various landscapes throughout the state, but we are mostly a mountainous state. This helps us thrive with our outdoor activities, outdoor recreation. We have a lot of guides that love to show off the outdoor spaces, but we also have a lot of space for people to go and explore on their own as well. We have one of the largest protected wilderness spaces in the US outside of Alaska. That's going to be in the center part of the state. We also have a lot of beautiful rivers to go and explore. It's one of the best ways to see wildlife within our state. And we have a lot of great scenic drives in our state as well. But just to kind of give a little bit of an overview of the state. So Boise is our largest city. It's located here in the southwest corner of Idaho. It's also our capital city. That's where most of the people in Idaho live, in and around the Boise area. We only have about 2 million people in the entire state, most of them living in and around the Boise area. But then we also have locations like Idaho Falls, which is on the east side of the state here, and it's about 2 hours just west of Yellowstone. So it's a great spot if people are looking for maybe price-conscious hotels, but want to be close by to Yellowstone and Grand Teton. And then we also have Coeur d'Alene up here in the north. This is a great stop if you're coming down from Canada into Idaho here. It's a great stop for any kind of outdoor rec and activity in the northern part of our state. So I'm going to get started and I'll kind of walk through different sections of the state and what there is to do in each section. And then we'll take questions at the very end. All right, to get started, we're going to start on the east side of the state. This is going to be close to Yellowstone. We're actually right on the border of Yellowstone National Park in eastern Idaho. We share the ecosystem of Yellowstone in this section of the state. So you can still see a lot of the same great wildlife that you would find in Yellowstone. You just don't have the crowds of Yellowstone. So there's great moose and elk viewing here. There's coyotes. Sometimes you get to see bear. We just don't have bison because the bison are kind of held over in Yellowstone thanks to the mountains around the area. They're not great mountain climbers, those bison. But as you kind of come over from Yellowstone, you get this quieter sense of the ecosystem around the area. And it's a great way to kind of just decompress. If you do go and see Yellowstone, it's a really exciting space, but you're going to be surrounded by a lot of people, especially in the summertime. So, kind of coming into eastern Idaho to kind of decompress and really enjoy maybe a quieter portion of your vacation would be a great opportunity. There's a couple of really cool activities to do just about 30 minutes outside of West Yellowstone, which is the Western Gate. One of those is Mesa Falls, which is pictured here. It is this big, beautiful waterfall that is actually coming out of Yellowstone into what used to be a super volcano. And so it's beautiful waterfall. You can't really see it very well, but there is a little platform, and that's where people are standing. And that is how big this waterfall is. It's just this massive waterfall. You maybe take a 5-minute hike from the parking lot, and you're right next to this beautiful waterfall. There's another smaller hike down to see the lower falls as well. And it's just kind of this great place to go to just kind of enjoy nature with not a lot of people around because not many people know that it's there. And then just to the west of that is Harriman State Park, which is pictured here. It was a ranch at one point that was owned by the railroad tycoon E.H. Harriman. He came out here, and this was his personal escape next to Yellowstone. The family held on to it for several years, and then they decided to give it over to the state itself and turn it into a state park. And they actually helped establish the state parks department because they wanted a department that would help preserve more land in the future. And so now this is a wildlife preserve. So you can go, and this is a great spot to actually enjoy some of that Yellowstone ecosystem. You can see moose here in the mornings, especially elk in the fall. We've seen coyote kind of wandering across the roads here. But this is a great place to go if you want to do horseback riding or hiking in a kind of beautiful nature preserve. And again, both of those things are just about 30 minutes outside of West Yellowstone. And then as we come farther south towards Idaho Falls, which is going to be the largest city in this area, you're actually going to see the forests change into kind of these rolling plains. And this is going to be where we get onto the Snake River Plains here, but you're going to see these amazing white sand dunes. And that is actually from some of the dust and dirt that has been collected over hundreds of years into these beautiful sand dunes. And you can go hiking on them, or you can ride ATVs or motorcycles. There's shops that are located just past the dunes where you can go and rent those. And then you can go riding on these dunes. And it's this big space that's owned by the government. It's free for people to use. And if you actually go up to the top of some of these sand dunes, you can actually see the Teton Mountains on a clear day, which is pretty amazing. So a really great kind of opportunity to enjoy some of that beautiful Yellowstone nature without having the crowds. And then as you come farther south into Idaho, we're kind of heading maybe down towards Salt Lake City. This would be a common loop for people to do if they were maybe coming in and out of Salt Lake City, is to kind of go up, see Yellowstone, and come down the eastern side of Idaho. You get a lot of family-friendly activities in this area. So Pocatello is going to be the largest city. It's where most of the lodging properties are going to be located. But if you go just east of that, you're going to get some really interesting opportunities to enjoy and kind of get out of the car and enjoy some of the landscape. And one of those is Lava Hot Springs. It is a city that is built around a series of hot pools, natural hot pools. They have they've taken some of those hot pools and turned them into a water park and kind of a developed spa area that are fed by these natural hot springs. So it's a great family-friendly sort of location if you want to kind of get out and enjoy some of the beautiful springs that are on offer there. And then if you go a little bit farther east, you're going to run into the town called Soda Springs. And Soda Springs has a very interesting claim to fame. The story goes that they were trying to put in some pipes in the center of town to help support some of the building that was going on in the center of town. And they tapped into this chamber that caused a geyser to erupt. And they felt like, oh, this geyser is going to eventually run out of steam. We're just going to have to wait it out, wait for the water to stop erupting from the ground. Well, it didn't seem to run out of steam, so they just kind of let it go. And then, not too far in the future, they got a call from the National Park Service in Yellowstone saying, hey, we think your geyser is throwing off Old Faithful, which is one of the great features of Yellowstone. And they were worried that they could no longer call it Old Faithful because they weren't getting the geyser to erupt at the kind of a faithful 90-minute time frame. So they asked us in Soda Springs to cap our geyser so that Old Faithful could remain faithful. And so now Soda Springs has the only captive geyser in the world. It's on a valve system that erupts, that allows the geyser to erupt on the hour, every hour for about 10 minutes. So it's a really kind of fun, funky place to go and just check out this really cool geyser that not many people know about. And then as you kind of come around to the east and south, you're going to run into this beautiful big turquoise lake. It's called Bear Lake, and Idaho and Utah actually share this lake. It's just a beautiful turquoise water, and it's a great spot to just kind of enjoy being out in nature next to some beautiful, cool water to enjoy in the summertime. The north side, which is the Idaho side, has lovely sandy beaches that you can go and enjoy. They've got boat rentals that you can take onto the water itself, but it's a great kind of resort feel if you are looking for a place to kind of relax and just unwind. And then next to that is some really cool geological features like Minnetonka Cave. So Idaho has this interesting feature of basalt and granite rock kind of mixing together and creating these amazing cave systems in different parts of our state. And Minnetonka is one of the largest that you can go and just explore. And it's a really cool kind of different thing to do as you maybe come down to Salt Lake City. Now, if your clients have more time and want to kind of explore further, we highly recommend coming into Central Idaho. This is going to be a great addition to your Yellowstone trip if that's where you're going, because there's this place called Craters of the Moon National Monument. It's this giant lava flow in the center part of the state. It last erupted about 2,000 years ago. And historians and geologists believe that this is a glimpse at the future of Yellowstone, because Yellowstone's a giant supervolcano. And we hope that in thousands of years, when we maybe are no longer around, the Yellowstone will erupt and create another lava flow similar to this. So you are able to kind of see maybe what the future holds for Yellowstone. But Craters of the Moon is this beautiful lava flow that has cooled, and you can actually go and hike to the cinder cones that are there, or you can go hike into the lava tubes that have cooled and have created cave systems. It's a really cool, unique geological feature that makes you feel like you might be in Hawaii, but you're actually in Idaho, in the center part of the state. And then as you kind of come north from Craters of the Moon, you run into some of our best known mountain landscapes. This is where Idaho gets really rugged and kind of really celebrates its outdoor recreation. So Ketchum and Sun Valley are these resort towns that are right next to each other, just at the base of some of our beautiful mountains. And they're going to be the largest towns in this area. Sun Valley was started as a destination resort town where the rich and famous would come and ski and just kind of relax. It's still got that same kind of vibe. You could potentially see some rich and famous people there. But the town is very much a low-key sort of experience. It's an Old West sort of feel where you have wooden um, boardwalks and you have town storefronts that look like they belong in a Wild West movie. But you have great opportunities to enjoy the outdoors. So if you come in the winter, there's great skiing involved, but you can also come in the summertime and enjoy hiking. There's biking as well. You can do horseback riding, and there's also river rafting. And it's right next door to our wilderness space, which is the Sawtooth area. So the Sawtooths are these big, beautiful mountains that look like the teeth of the saw, rugged mountainscape, but it's got a lot of great lake systems that you can go and hike to, which is a really popular thing to do. But you can also do horseback riding and rafting, and those can be a couple of hours, or you could do several days of that if you'd like to. We've got guides that can offer all of those opportunities to your clients. And then after a busy day of maybe going outdoors and exploring, you could enjoy some of the natural hot springs that are in the area. Because of the tie to the hotspot in Yellowstone, we do have a lot of geothermal activity in this area. And we do see a lot of natural hot springs. So you could be driving along some of our scenic byways and you see steam coming up from the road. That's a natural hot springs right alongside the road. And one of those is Sunbeam Hot Springs. It's this just natural pool that sits right next to the Salmon River. And it's just an amazing feeling of just soaking in the hot springs and being in tune with nature. And the Salmon River is kind of one of our key rivers in this area. It's best known for whitewater rafting. You can do, again, several hours on the river, or you could do 7 days on the river. It's a really great experience depending on how in tune with nature your client wants to be. Then if we kind of come south from the central Idaho area, we're coming back onto the Snake River Plains, and we're actually seeing the Snake River Canyon itself. It's this beautiful basalt canyon that is home to one of the largest rivers in the state of Idaho, the Snake River, which actually comes from Yellowstone itself. And it's a great way to really enjoy, again, more nature and being out in and amongst the nature itself. Twin Falls is going to be the largest city in this area, and it's a great hub for any kind of outdoor rec and vacationing that you might want to do. It sits right on the edge of the Snake River Canyon itself. And this is a great spot to kind of do some adventuring. So right in the Snake River, you can do kayaking and paddle boarding and just kind of marvel up at these massive walls, almost like you're in the Grand Canyon, but it's going to be more of a black basalt feel to it. Or you can go and enjoy one of our best known waterfalls it's called Shoshone Falls. It's referred to as the Niagara of the West. It is taller than Niagara Falls, but because of water rights, it's bigger and fuller in the springtime and then kind of slowly peters out over the summer. And so it's great to come and see it in May and June, and you can actually paddle up to it and see the spray and feel the spray. It's a really kind of cool experience. Or you can just go and paddle along the river itself. There are several hidden springs within the canyon that have these beautiful turquoise water, crystal clear water that you can go and swim in as well. If you want to do more rock climbing, or if you have anyone who's maybe a history buff in as a client, we've got City of Rocks, which is right on kind of the border of Idaho and Utah. It's these rock granite spires that kind of just jut up out of the ground in this kind of hidden valley down in southern Idaho. And people describe it as if they are walking through some downtown metropolis area, but everything is abandoned. So you have these skyscrapers that are just silent, and that's why it's called the Silent City. But it's a great spot if anyone loves to rock climb or do out some hiking in the area. It is also a spot where we know that early Native American people used to live and shelter. They left behind petroglyphs and etched into the rock, and so you can go and see those today. You also see some of the names etched into rocks. So in this portion of the state, we have a lot of Oregon Trail and California Trail history for any of the Americans that were moving west. and they have etched their names into the rocks if they were passing through this area on their way to the California um, gold mines. And so you can actually see some of those names still etched into the rocks at City of Rocks, which is kind of interesting. And then again, if you are done with the day and need a good soak, we've also got some amazing hot springs that you can enjoy. These are going to be more developed hot springs because they're closer to a larger city. They're going to have different varying levels of hot pools for you. So some are going to be very, very warm, and some are going to be more of your kind of bath water sort of feel to it. The Miracle Hot Springs also has private pools that you can enjoy, but it's a great way to kind of end the day and just soak away some of those cares. And then, oh, sorry, went the other way. Then as we go farther west, now we're getting into the more popular area of the state of Idaho. So this is where most of the locals live in the state, in and around the Boise area, but there's still great access to outdoor recreation. So Boise is going to be the largest city. We've got a lot of lovely boutique hotels downtown, as well as kind of hotels along the way in Meridian and Caldwell. Um, but this area is a great opportunity to just kind of do a couple of days of outdoor rec in the area. So one of those locations is called Bruneau Dunes State Park. So we talked about St. Anthony Sand Dunes out in eastern Idaho. We have a second area that has beautiful sand dunes. Again, the sand was deposited by the winds of the plains kind of coming in and getting caught in this area. We also had a giant flood that came through and deposited boulders and things to help kind of block the sand into this kind of bowl-shaped area. But Bruneau Dunes is actually a great spot to do some nighttime viewing. So they've got a public observatory that's open in the summer, and they open it to the public at night so that you can view the night sky, which is amazing. So that's just about an hour and 45 minutes outside of Boise. And then on the other side, on the west side, about 40 minutes on to the west of Boise, we have these beautiful rolling plains of the Sunny Slope wine region. So this is an area that is on the same parallel as southern France and northern Spain. And so we have these full body reds that seem to be developing here in this wine region. And you can drive out there and enjoy different varieties from about 30 different wineries, or you can do a wine tour and have them pick you up at your hotel in Boise and take you out there on a different tour. But each of those locations, or each of those options is just an amazing experience for very local feeling wine. All of these wineries are small batch wineries, and they focus specifically on just kind of the varieties that they're really interested in. And then if you go farther north, you go into another resort town called McCall, and this is on one of our lakes in southwest Idaho, Payette Lake, pictured here kind of in the top corner here. It's this beautiful pine forest that surrounds the whole lake, and it is popular in the summertime, but there are opportunities to go kayaking in some of the river systems that feed into the lake. And it's a great opportunity to again see wildlife. This is where moose love to hang out because it's kind of the mushy, marshy area. It's also a great opportunity to see eagles nesting and osprey. So it's another opportunity to kind of get out into the outdoors in just kind of a casual way. Now we're going to get into northern Idaho. So we've actually gone through a time zone change. So southern Idaho is in the mountain time zone, which is the same as, say, Denver. And then northern Idaho is going to be in the Pacific time zone, so the same as Seattle or Vancouver. And this area is going to be another kind of change in geology and geography here. So we're getting away from some of the ruggedness of central and southern Idaho into more rolling plains, what we call kind of the Palouse. This is where we grow a lot of wheat, but we also have some of the deepest river gorge in North America is actually located in this area along the west side of Idaho. It's called Hell's Canyon, and it is actually the border between Idaho and Oregon. And one of the best spots to gain access to this river gorge is in Lewiston, which is going to be the largest kind of city in the central part of north central part of the state. Um, so you can take jet boats into Hell's Canyon, and it could be a half day or a full day trip into the heart of this beautiful canyon, where you can do sturgeon fishing or you can see some more wildlife. We see a lot of bear and bighorn sheep and mountain goats that like to hang out here. But it's a really cool kind of experience that can only really be found on this portion of the state. And then if you're interested in, again, more wine, there's another wine region in northern Idaho. It's called the Lewis-Clark Valley Wine Region, and they also provide wine tours out of Lewiston. So it's a great way to kind of just enjoy some of the local flavor. This is also where we see a lot more of Native American tourism. So we have five federally recognized tribes within the state of Idaho. Many of them have chosen to not produce any kind of tourism product, which is entirely up to them. But the Nez Perce in north central Idaho have a national historical park, which highlights several spots within the state that are historically relevant to the Nez Perce, both as a creation story and as their interaction with white folks who came through the area. So Lewis and Clark are a well-known expeditionary through the US. They were saved and sheltered by the Nez Perce in this area, and there are a lot of historical sites related to that. Um, and you can go and visit that site or several of those sites in and around the Lewiston area. You can also have a tour from a member of the tribe by going on a tour with Nez Perce Tourism, which is owned and operated by a member of the Nez Perce tribe. And they will talk about their history from their own perspective. Then as we go farther north, we are getting right up next to our border with Canada in the Panhandle. And this is going to feel like you are kind of entering into Western Canada. It's going to have a lot of dense forests and a lot of beautiful hikes and waterfalls to enjoy. So this is a great opportunity to kind of come down and enjoy if you are in the western side of the state or western side of Canada. We have some beautiful big lakes. Priest Lake is pictured here. This is going to be in the very top part of the Panhandle. And then as you come farther south, there's also Lake Pendleray and Coeur d'Alene Lake. All three of those lakes were carved by glaciers. So it's dense forest around the area and lots of opportunity for outdoor recreation, whether that's kayaking or boat rides. So Lake Pendleray and Lake Coeur d'Alene offer scenic boat rides around the lake. They do history tours of the lake as well as talk about some of the wildlife you can see, including eagles that like to nest in the area. And then in the area, you also have some beautiful bike trails. So we had a lot of railroads that came through this section of the state. It was a big logging industry at one point here, and they've turned several of those railroad tracks into bike trails themselves. So Route of the Hiawatha is one of those. That's pictured here. This is right on the border of Idaho and Montana, and it's a 13-mile track that actually takes you downhill over train trestles and through train tunnels. And when you get to the bottom, there is a bus that will take you to the top, and you can catch your car from there. Or you can turn around and ride back up the 13 miles. It's up to you and how sporty your clients want to be. But then you also have waterfalls along the way that you can enjoy. So Copper Creek Falls is pictured here. We also have several others in the area and happy to share some kind of itinerary routes of those waterfalls as well. And then we have more skiing in this area as well. We have 19 ski areas in the entire state of Idaho. Schweitzer is going to be the largest ski area. This actually sits on the border of Idaho and Washington state. And you can do traditional skiing, but they also have a massive backcountry area where you can do backcountry skiing as well as some snowmobiling in that area. Now to just kind of talk in general, we have a lot of we have 29 state parks in Idaho, and we have a lot of opportunity for staying in those parks, whether that is staying in some sort of lodging opportunity within the parks. Like in Harriman State Park, you can stay in some of the historic ranch properties, or at this yurt that's pictured here, or there's opportunities to camp in the state parks. All of those are really great ways to see the night sky and to really kind of enjoy nature the way that it's meant to be, just kind of quiet and out with nature itself. And I mentioned that there were 19 ski areas. That's pictured here on the right. We've got Schweitzer at the very top. That's going to be the largest ski area. Sun Valley here in the center part of the state is our most well-known, but most of our ski areas are going to be kind of homegrown, family-oriented sort of ski areas. The great thing about them is that most of them have over 200 inches of snow each year. And several of them are either on the Icon or Indy Pass. They also offer very reasonable rates. Most of them are within about $100 a day for ski passes. They try to keep those rates low because they want people to actually enjoy the ski areas. I think Sun Valley is probably going to be the most expensive. We're talking about maybe a $200 a day rate for Sun Valley. But the other thing about Idaho is the scenic routes. This is the best way to see the state. So we have only a couple of interstates through the state of Idaho. The rest of them are kind of designated scenic byways that you can drive on. They're two lane roads that are really easy to drive through, lots of places to pull over and just kind of enjoy the view, and a lot of beautiful towns to just stop in and enjoy. But that is all I had, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Katie, for that very informational webinar. Idaho definitely looks like a beautiful state to visit. All right, agents, if you have any questions, please drop in the Q&A box and we'll get right to it. Okay, so while wait for the agents, I do have a few questions myself. So the first one I'd like to know is, how many days would you suggest someone to spend in Idaho?
Yeah, I would recommend kind of thinking of Idaho in two parts. So southern Idaho is a great kind of loop if you're looking to do also Yellowstone. For that, I would recommend 7 days, just so that you have time to visit certain locations and actually enjoy some of the activities there. Idaho is deceptively large. It takes a while to drive through. And so giving yourself time outside of the car is really important. If you're going through northern Idaho, I would recommend at least 5 days, just so that you can really kind of enjoy certain activities that are going to take at least a half day to go and explore.
Awesome, that's great to know. All right, so we do have an agent here. The agent wants to know, how is the weather in Idaho year round?
It's actually very mild. So in southern Idaho, it's going to be a lot warmer. We're talking Boise can get into the 100-degree weather in August. Very sunny, but everywhere else it's going to be much more temperate. So you're talking maybe 80 degrees in the mountainous areas around us. It's nice because it's a dry heat, so it might be warm in the summertime in the day, but then it's going to cool off at night and going to be very enjoyable, especially in those mountain locations.
Awesome, I definitely agree. Dry heat is better.
Hmm.
All right, I'm not sure if you know what a fam trip is, but an agent here wants to know, will there be a fam trip for travel agents anytime soon?
We don't have any fam trips planned yet, but we would be happy to look into a fam trip if we have a lot of interest in one. Um, and we would love to entertain that idea.
Awesome. All right, another question I'm curious about is, why are there lava fields in Idaho?
Yeah. So the hot spot in Yellowstone is believed to have originated actually in Washington State. And as it moved kind of south and then east, kind of along the Snake River area. It caused a series of eruptions as the lava kind of came to the surface. And so that's what has caused the eruptions in the craters of the moon area. And that is why we now have basalt kind of over top of the granite itself, which has created a really interesting, unique landscape.
Cool, awesome. That'll definitely be really cool to see in person.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, that is all the questions. Do you have any last minute words you want to let the travel agents know on why they should book their clients to visit Idaho?
We absolutely love to have guests in our state. We're a state that is very excited to share our favorite hikes and our favorite places with people. So a lot of people will talk about how friendly Idahoans are. We love sitting down and talking to the person next to us and finding out where they're from, and then encouraging them to go and see our favorite locations. So we would love to invite your clients over to just enjoy the spaces that we also love.
Amazing. Well, agents, make sure to book your clients over to Idaho. All right. Well, thank you, Katie, again for this wonderful webinar. And again, agents, there will be a giveaway. So the giveaway winner will be chosen offline, and I'll notify the winner early next week. So make sure to keep an eye out. And again, thank you everybody for joining us this Thursday afternoon. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the day. Bye,
Thanks,
everyone. Thank
everyone.
you.